Cults in Dungeons & Dragons are typically quite evil. They're comprised of some pretty fanatical people, and their goals often consist of summoning a demon or devil and plunging the world into hell. So I wanted to create some cults that dungeon masters can use in their homebrew campaigns that were a little less evil and that your players might even want to join. With each cult in this video, I've outlined the cult's belief, what their initiation might look like, as well as 4 levels of progression that can be attained as you further your devotion in the cult. Each level of progression comes with its new abilities, some of which I think are balanced, others you might want to tweak yourself. I did intend that level 3 and 4 of the progression to be for decently high level characters, but I'll leave it up to you and your discretion when you want to advance the players to those abilities. So let's have a look. Voice of the Banshee King. Typically, banshees are associated with the spirits of female elves who failed to use their beauty to bring joy into the world. So the idea behind the Banshee King is that he was their ruler. He was the monarch who used these elves to corrupt and manipulate others in order to increase his dominion. But with his inevitable demise, he was left in this twisted and hollow form, cursed to forever wander the lands he tried so hard to keep. The followers of the Banshee King believe that he seeks to find redemption and offers the power to destroy the abominations he created in life. The initiation requires the player to venture into the Banshee King's former palace and recover an item that has important significance to him. Upon returning, you're imbued with new spectral powers. As you serve the Banshee King, casting out the ghost from his past and returning his cherished objects, you will progress through the levels of his cult, gaining the following abilities. At level 1, you can project a horrifying visage, and those within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw, DC 13, or be frightened for 1 minute. You also gain access to a ghostly ring that warns you when undead are 60 feet or less away. At level 2, for 1 minute you become incorporeal and can phase through objects and people. You take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn in the space as another character. As well, you can see into the ethereal plane now. At level 3, once a day, at the cost of 2d10 of your own hit points, you may cast a Banshee Wail. At level 4, you can transform into a ghostly visage, granting you a flight speed of 40 feet and the ability to shift into the ethereal plane as an action on your turn. For every 1 minute you remain in this form, you lose 2d8 hit points. The reasoning behind being damaged by these abilities could link to the fact that the Banshee King might actually be evil, and that the more his followers utilize their ghost-like abilities, the more life force he drains from them, eventually leading to his resurrection. This is one way you could choose to take this cult, or you could simply have him genuinely seeking to redeem himself for his past acts. It is up to you. Vessels of the Blade. The blade is an ancient monolithic black blade cloaked in shadow. The blade blesses those who offer it magical items. It siphons existing powers and bestows new ones to those who serve it. Its worshippers believe once it absorbs enough magical energy, the worthiest among them will have the privilege of ushering in a new age. My thought was that the Black Blade is actually an ancient shadow dragon, who was sealed away into the blade and hungers for the magical energy to break itself free. But it can also be whatever you like. This would also be a great idea for a warlock patron who plans to adopt the Pact of the Blade. The initiation would involve obtaining a magical weapon outlined by the leader of the vessels and then offering it to the blade. To make it fun, you could put the item they need to procure in a quite precarious place. It could be a noble family's heirloom sword, or a raging warlord's magical axe, or maybe even found in the hoard of a young red dragon who covets it dearly. Making it an adventure to find this item and then having its magic absorbed by the Black Blade I think would be pretty funny. But upon returning, your arm is seemingly struck by the blade, leaving what seems to be a sword-like tattoo on your arm. Progressing through the cult, you can attain these abilities. At level 1, the mark of the blade appears on your arm. This grants you the ability to summon a magical blade from a pocket dimension. This is a blade of spell storing. It can hold up to 3 levels of spells in it. At level 2, when a spell is stored within the sword from the School of Evocation, such as Scorching Ray or Cone of Cold, you may, as a bonus action, expend the spell, empowering the sword with 1d8 of the damage type used in that spell for 1 minute. Only one damage type may be empowering the blade at any one time. At level 3, the sword may now hold up to 6 levels of spells. Additionally, when you hit a creature that has the ability to cast spells, you may attempt to steal one of their prepared spells and store it in the sword. The target must make an opposed wisdom saving throw. If the target is successful, they keep the prepared spell. If the target fails, you're able to steal one of the target's prepared spells up to a level of spell that you can cast and store in the sword. If there isn't room enough in the sword to store the spell, the prepared spell remains with the caster. This feature can be used a number of times a day, equal to half your player level. At level 4, when expending a spell in order to empower your sword, you may now have 2 damage types at one time. You may also empower the weapons of allies. Depending on the level of spell expended, you may empower that many allies with the damage type used in the spell. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Apex Ascension. True strength is found through adaptation and evolution. By ritually devouring the hearts of enemies, their death becomes fuel for your ascension. The goal, to become the ultimate life form. This cult was originally called the Cult of the Devourers. It stemmed from my brother-in-law's character who would always eat the hearts of his enemies. I would have him make a constitution save, and if he passed, I'd give him a trait of the enemy that he killed. For example, he had 4 arms for a while after he ate the heart of a hydra. Similarly, the Apex Ascension believes adaptation and evolution are the pathways to perfection. The initiation would involve hunting a specific creature outlined by the leader of the Apex Ascension and slaying it alone, then returning with its heart to offer it to the other Apex Ascenders. They would then teach you the manner by which you ritually prepare the heart for devouring. As you hunt more creatures outlined by the Ascenders, you'll progress through the cult, gaining these abilities. At level 1, the ability to devour hearts of creatures you've slain, and gain 1 trait from that creature for 24 hours. You must make a constitution saving throw of 10 plus half the creature's challenge rating. On a success, you acquire the trait. On a fail, you're unable to assimilate the creature's trait. At level 2, you gain advantage on your constitution save when attempting to devour a heart of a creature whose challenge rating is lower than your player level. At level 3, you may now have 2 ascension traits active. You may also devour the brain of the creature to gain memories and advantage on skill checks on 1 skill of which the creature was proficient in for 1 hour. At level 4, you may have 1 ascension trait active permanently and can have 2 others that last 24 hours. Upon devouring the brain, you gain advantage on skill checks on 3 skills of which the creature was proficient in for 1 hour. Bond of the Collective. The Collective are the unified souls of ancient magisters. They believe life is a collective experience and desire to experience it in every way. The soul can link 2 individuals together, creating a unique bond and fostering greater understanding and learning. The initiation would require you to bring the collective an experience that they have not yet partaken in, and then return and bind your soul to theirs. This cult, compared to the others, is a bit more ambiguous, because experiences could equate to possibly anything. But it also leaves room for the players to use their imaginations. This might be the easiest cult to progress through, as just by adventuring, you're forging unique experiences. But as you return with new and exciting experiences to share with the collective, you will gain the following abilities. At level 1, you gain the ability to bind your soul to an ally for 1 hour. When you take damage, you can instead choose to redirect the damage to the bound person. This link breaks if you're over 120 feet apart. You also may speak telepathically to the bound person. You may use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier to a minimum of 1. At level 2, when bound to another, spells cast that target self are also applied to the bound target. Spells can also be cast from the position of the bound target. At level 3, when binding to an ally, roll 2d10 and add that many temporary hit points to the target. You may also transfer a number of hit points to the bound person on your turn. If the bound target is a caster, you may exchange spell slots to the highest level they have access to. At level 4, when casting a spell, you may now cast a copy of that spell at the expense of an additional spell slot from the position of the bound person. So if you're going to cast a level 1 spell, then choose to copy that spell and cast it from the bound target's position, it would cost the user an additional 2 level 1 spell slots instead of the usual 1. Children of the Entwash. The Ents were once the protectors of nature, but were destroyed due to the growth of civilization. Now they must be revived in order to restore balance to the world. The initiation would involve destroying a dam which is stifling the flow of the Entwash waters, then returning and drinking from the restored grotto. I'd like to imagine this cult is full of well-meaning eco-terrorists. They're concerned about the balance of nature, but go about it the wrong way, causing more problems than solutions. A bit of imagery I had was the more Entwash grottos you restore, you notice that the forest boundaries start to encroach on major cities. As you liberate more of the Entwash grottos, you will gain the following abilities. At level 1, you may cast the spell Barkskin with the target of self at will. At level 2, when under the Barkskin spell, your unarmed attacks act as though they are enhanced by the Shillelagh cantrip. As well, your attacks have an additional 5-foot range. At level 3, while under the Barkskin spell, you have the ability to speak to plants. You may also meld with wooden objects, much like the Meld with Stone spell, by replacing stone with wood. At level 4, you now have the power once a week to animate a single tree. This tree has the statistics of a treant, except it has an intelligence and charisma score of 1. Can't speak, and only has the slam attack action. The tree remains animated for 1 day or until it dies. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. I'll be making more of these kinds of videos in the future on various different topics, so stick around for those. Hope to see you next time. Bye.